Okay, it's 1:30 in the afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Ma'am Gia, do you have some announcements or would you like me to start right away?
So I'd like to welcome everyone to this first talk. I can't see the participants right now, no, but um thank you for attending this. It's the first time we're gonna have a talk in the preschools for the teachers and staff on parent culture, and it's good for us to be able to um revive the spirit, diba? Revive the culture. And the only way we can do this is that before we open the school year, it's to listen to the talk. I know you've been having your PEIs already, and you might be too tired of the talk, but believe me, this is one of the talks or the topics that will for sure help us to be able to parang put ourselves in the parang back on track, no, as PAREF staff and teachers. So Mr. Rentoy, let's welcome Mr. Rentoy. He's the new director for personal formation. And later after his talk, I'm sure he'll be glad to meet you and for whatever questions you may have. Okay. Thank you and good afternoon.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here on time. It's now 1:31 and there are now 36 of us in the Zoom room. And I know everyone is very busy preparing for a new school year. Well, for those of you who may be hearing me for the first time, but I think many of you were there in the July 3 session that I gave for PEI 1. But in case this is your first time to see me, so my name is Man Rentoy, and I belong to the first graduates of Southridge back in 1984. We were we were grade 7 when Southridge opened, and we were the first batch to graduate. And then I went to UST. That's where I finished my AB Journalism and Literature, MA in Creative Writing, and PhD in Literature. But I first spent some years in Iloilo to start Westbridge. I was there in 1991 when the idea was born, and then I was the head of the school up to 1994 when I moved to Southridge, where I served as principal of intermediate school, vice principal of high school, religion department head, and then um, club moderator of many different student organizations. But in 2009, I moved to UANP, University of Asia in the Pacific, and that's where I started Catalyst of UANP, an organization of students that would go on to become also a company championing character formation throughout the country, throughout Asia, and throughout the world. So the last 11 years, I've spent more time reaching out to teachers like you to remind everyone about the importance of character formation. And today, I was tasked to talk to you about let's understand PAREF. Let's understand our culture together so that together we can push our school, our respective preschools, and us in the big schools, our respective big schools to greater heights. Okay. My objective is for us not just to understand, but to have a deep appreciation of the PAREF culture, of what we are, of what we are here for. And the only way to understand PAREF is to know our role as teachers according to the mind of the founders. As you know, PAREF was born in 1976. And then Woodrow's was the first one to open. And then 1979, Southridge opened. And I was there during that time. We came to Southridge in Alabang Hills. That was not there. Hillsboro did not exist during that time. It was Alabang Hills, surrounded by ipil trees with a lot of snakes and insects, and in a half-finished building on July 15, 1979. We started 1 month late because precisely the building was not finished yet, but we forced it. We started 1 month later, July 15, 1979. The only way to understand PAREF is to go back to the minds of the people who put up PAREF, who put up Southridge, Woodrose especially. Now, unfortunately, I don't think anyone in Woodrose sat down to write like what Dr. Paul Dummel did, Understanding Southridge School. This he wrote in September 1991, right before leaving PAREF in order to go to CRC College during that time. And he wanted to leave behind, well, I think this is 180 pages of notes for the officers and the future officers and teachers of all the PAREF schools. So this is one of my main sources to go back to the founders of PAREF. To understand PAREF, we need to go to the minds of the founders of the schools. And he started this Understanding Southridge with little bit of history. Where did they base their original ideas, concepts? No? And if you go to the PAREF website, you're going to see there highlighted that the founders of the school were inspired by the teachings of Saint Josemaria. They were Opus Dei members. I mean, PAREF would not have been born if not for the Opus Dei members who were inspired by the ideas of Saint Josemaria. Effectively, no Opus Dei, no PAREF. And that's why, for us to understand PAREF, we have to go back not just to the minds of the founders of PAREF, but to the very mind of the one who inspired them to start our schools. Of course, we all want to be the best teachers we can possibly be. Okay? I know you are here precisely because of that. Gusto nating maging the best teachers we can possibly be for all these kids, children, entrusted to our care. I'm sure many of you may have attended some of my past talks in some seminars or another. I've spoken to more than 100,000 teachers in the Philippines, in Sri Lanka, in Japan, in the US, and most likely some of you may actually have attended my past seminars. And we all want to be the best teachers we can possibly be. And if you've attended any of my past seminars, you would have heard me say this again and again. Our session today is nothing else but an invitation. Let us be the best teachers we can possibly be for these kids, for these children, entrusted to our care. That's an expression I love very much. Hindi lang tayo binigyan ng subjects to teach. Hindi lang tayo binibigyan ng load, academic load to take care of. We are actually entrusted with human beings, children, to take care of. So, as I said earlier, the only way to understand, therefore, why we do, what we believe in, what we uphold, we need to go back to the very reason why PAREF school started. And I don't just mean the people in 1976 who set up PAREF, but all the way back to 1928. To Saint Josemaria Escriva, who received that very clear message from God of the mission that he was given on October 2, 1928. Sanctification of ordinary life, sanctification of the world from within, becoming saints to do our work and helping others to become saints to do that work by making that work sanctified. So, those of you who are first year teachers, for example, or may um, just be introduced to PAREF and to Opus Dei, I encourage you, I invite you to get to know a lot about this great saint, this Saint Jose Maria Escriva, called by many present day theologians as one of the greatest saints of modern times, because he really was. I mean, he is considered to be one of the most important saints of modern times, because what he started preaching in 1928 would only find their way in the documents of the Catholic Church in the Second Vatican Council 40, 50 years later. That's how ahead of his time he was. And he was canonized by Saint John Paul II in Saint Peter's in the Vatican on October 6, 2002, 2002. And I was there. I brought along 30 high school students from Southridge. And we were standing all the way there to the very end because the hotel we were able to get was 2 hours away. So by that time, our bus brought us to the square for the canonization mass. Uh, 500,000 people were already crowding all the streets and the whole stretch of the Via Conciliazione. And well, some people said this is one of the biggest gatherings ever in the history of St. Peter's for a canonization or for a liturgical celebration. And that was that Saint Jose Maria. I encourage you, teachers, including those who may have been teaching for a long time but have not been able to go more deeply into understanding this saint, read his books, read about his life. If this is your first time to hear about him, I encourage you to, for example, get hold of a copy of two collections of homilies um, put together in two books. Christ is Passing By and Friends of God. Of course, he is more known for his masterpiece of a work called The Way. The Way by Saint Jose Maria Escrivá, which has sold more than 5 million copies. It's some people would call it a like a, how do you call this, a modern version of way of life. So there are so many things to discover about Saint Jose Maria, and encourage you, as I said, especially for those of you who are getting in touch with Opus Dei only for the first time as you start teaching in a PAREF school, because our culture is guided by the very spirit which God entrusted to Saint Jose Maria in 1928. Many of the things about his teachings, his homilies, his talks will find their way into what we do in schools, in our schools, working with excellence, doing things with the utmost human perfection, punctuality. I started at 1:30 on the dot because that's how Opus Dei does it. That's how professional people do it. That's how PAREF does it. That is our culture, doing things to the utmost human perfection. There are so many, I mean, if you Google it, for example, there are so many articles, journals, or how do you call these, scholarly works that have been written about his philosophy of education, his ideas about schooling, about teaching, about learning. Well, we don't need to go technical into those things. I'm going to share with you some very important um, aspects of those teachings of Saint Josemaria, which will explain why we do what we do in our schools. So, the only way to fully appreciate, not just to understand, but even to fully appreciate um, the PAREF way of doing things, our culture, our mindset, even our attitude, our outlook, is to get to know what did Saint Josemaria say about these things. All the schools that we have, the girls' schools, the boys' schools, Hawthorne School for Girls started in 1989, Tangara in Australia that started in 1982, even going all the way back 1969, the first school in the US, or 1966, School for Boys Retamar in Spain, or Viaro in 1963, or even the very first one, the very first school that members of Opus Dei set up. This is Gastelweta. And I remember 1979, nung nag-umpisa yung South Ridge, that was the 25th anniversary of Gastelweta. And the first MANCOM of Southridge, Dr. Toralba, Dr. Paul Dumol, Mr. Julius Nazareno, Mr. Conrad Ricafort, they were all my teachers. I was grade 7 and they were my, Dr. Dumol was my teacher in English, reading. And they were using the 25th anniversary coffee table book of Gastelweta as like their guide. Many of the activities that now we have in many PAREF schools were copied from that 25th anniversary coffee table book of Gastelweta. So all these schools, the same, they were set up inspired by the teachings of Saint Josemaria, and not only inspired, but even with the encouragement and push of Saint Josemaria. He died in 1975. And so, even before he died, he was already talking to people like Dr. Sidito Mapa about being able to start schools in the Philippines. Dr. Bernie Villegas, Dr. Jesus Estanislao, they lived with Saint Josemaria in Rome before they came here in 1964. All of these people who put up schools all over the world, all these Fomento schools, all the parent schools, all of them guided by the teachings of Saint Josemaria, pushed by Saint Josemaria for a purpose. Okay? Let me put it this way, bluntly. I don't think Saint Josemaria told these members of Opus Dei, put up schools so we have employment. No. Put up schools so that we have source of income. No. In fact, looking at how many schools started, they were not, how do you call this, profitable. They are not, they are difficult to run. So, Saint Josemaria wanted us to have schools not simply because we can create employment, we can have source of income. He had a very clear mind of why he wanted us to put up schools, because the schools are the most effective ways, tools to be able to spread the message of Opus Dei, sanctification of ordinary life. Everyone is called to sanctity. You parents are called to holiness. You teachers have to work to become saints. That's the purpose of having schools. And then raise up these young kids to grow up to be good people so that they can bring about the change that the world badly needs. In fact, he wrote down, he started Opus Dei in 1928, and then he left behind documents for how we do things. And this is one of the things he wrote in one document. He told the people The 1935, there were very, very few members of Opus Dei. Now there are almost 100,000 all over the world. Majority of them are married men and women. But during that time, 1935, there was only a handful. And he told them, if you don't make the boys men of prayer, you have wasted your time. Well, because 1935, Opus Dei was just all men. Later on, the women would come. So we will now actually be able to say, if you and I, teachers, do not make our students, the girls and the boys, women and men of prayer, we would have wasted our time. We would have wasted our time. You know, one of the schools, one of the most important instruments of spreading the message of Opus Dei that members of Opus Dei set up is University of Navarre in Spain, in Pamplona, which is now counted as one of the most respected universities, not just in Europe, but in the world. And he went there in the football field and delivered that homily entitled Passionately Loving the World. Okay, very beautiful homily. If you have not read it, I encourage you to Google it, or for sure it is in opusdei.org. You can get hold of a copy of that homily, because that is where he talks about why are we here. We have to sanctify the world. We have to sanctify others through our work, and we have to sanctify ourselves through that work. And there in that well, in the University of Navarre, the person he asked to start Navarre went to him years later to tell him, Father, that's how he called Saint Josemaria. Father, you asked me to put up the university. Here it is. Saint Josemaria corrected him and told him that's Ismael Sanchez Bella, the one who started the University of Navarre. Sabi ni Saint Josemaria sa kanya, I did not ask you to start a university. I asked you to be a saint by starting a university. And that's how it is. We too are engaged now in that business of sanctifying ourselves. Otherwise, we would have wasted our time. If we don't make these kids, boys and girls, of prayer, we would be wasting our time. And if we, management people, do not get to make you teachers, men and women of prayer, we would have wasted our time. Now, I just wanted to show you, okay, so that's 1928 when Saint Josemaria started Opus Dei in the Philippines, because we are all part of that history now of Opus Dei in the Philippines. It started only in 1964 when Dr. Villegas and Dr. Estanislao came back to start Opus Dei in a dilapidated house. I mean, okay, not dilapidated, but in a house in Singalong, owned by the family of Dr. Villegas, and they had to start Opus Dei there. Imagine 1964, two men coming here. They were instructed to start Opus Dei in the Philippines. They had nothing to show people. Today, 60 years later, if you ask me, what is Opus Dei? Where is it? I'm going to show you this long list of so many centers of Opus Dei in the Philippines. I'm going to show you the different provinces where there are now Opus Dei centers in Cebu, in Iloilo, in Bacolod, in Davao. I'm going to show you a long list of Asian countries started by members of Opus Dei in the Philippines: Hong Kong, Macau, Singapore, Taiwan, Indonesia, India, Vietnam. In fact, I'm supposed to also include Sri Lanka, where I spent 1 year and where the original chaplain there is a Filipino, Up to now, he's still there, Father Dan Icatlo. And I'm going to show you world-class conference centers all over the country. Latag Makiling, Tagaytay Conference Center, Bukidnon, Minglanilla in Cebu, Panagmula in Baguio, Tepeyac in Baguio, La Castellana in Bacol, in Negros, Mountain Pines in Bukidnon. And I'm going to show you all the schools and the preschools and the technical schools. And then I'm going to tell you more than 300 priests and seminarians were sent by Opus Dei to be the SOA in Spain and Santa Croce in Rome to study in the Opus Dei universities there and are now scattered all throughout the country. And then the women with their own centers, started by two men. And that's 60 years since the time they started. You know, what I'm trying to derive at here is Opus Dei cannot be a human organization only. It cannot. I mean, you cannot, humanly speaking, there's no possibility of two persons being able to do all these that I showed you. This overwhelming list of centers, initiatives, conference centers, countries, cities, and the PAREF schools are among these. Inexplicable. I mean, there's just no human explanation. How can two people possibly bring about all these things? Because it's a divine undertaking. That's the message I really wanted to get across by showing you those two slides. You have become now a part of that. Well, it's like a divine undertaking. I mean, it can only possibly be God's work, which is what Opus Dei is all about. Opus Dei, work of God. Um, that's the only explanation. You cannot give any other human explanation. A Rotary Club would not be able to do anything like that. JC's, Lions Club, Zonta Club, a human organization will not be able to accomplish all those things that I showed. Therefore, dear fellow PAREF teachers, that's what I wanted to say. You have become now a part of this divine undertaking by being teachers in our preschools. And then we go back to, but why are we here? Why are we putting up the school? Because the message is the same. Saint Josemaria will tell us, I did not ask you to start PAREF. I asked you to be a saint by starting PAREF. I did not ask you to start PAREF preschools. I asked you to be a saint by starting PAREF preschools. And then now we are part of that project, the divine undertaking. That is a very important idea that we should have. We have to realize that we are not just here covering a curriculum, finishing a textbook, or attending to kids so that they are kept busy. We are not just part of a human project. You are now entrusted with a mission. And that is how we will be the best teachers we can possibly be in a PAREF preschool. When we do not look at our work simply as employment, as a job, but rather as a mission that has been entrusted to us. That is PAREF culture. We don't do our work simply for the sake of being able to finish the task, for the sake of being able to accomplish a list of tasks. We look at our work as a raw material for sanctity, a means of pleasing God, a means of serving society, a means of raising up a new generation of young people who will go on to be spectacular human beings. This is how we do things in PAREF. The only way to appreciate, fully understand, and then appreciate the kind of mission that has been entrusted to us is by realizing this. I am a part of a divine undertaking. God Himself has entrusted to me this task of molding minds, forming character, shaping lives. And this is our greatest contribution to society. Of course, we always talk about in PAREF, the distinctive traits are this: integral education, homeschool collaboration. Ay, this is the only way to explain bakit tayo napakarami namang talks, seminars, um, sessions na nire-require sa ating mga magulang, sa mga parents. Sa ibang eskwelahan, pag pinatawag ang parents sa school, ay may problema ang anak. Or malapit na masuspend or may ginawang masama ang bata. That's the culture in many other schools. Not us. We know, we accept that the parents are the first, well, the primary educators of their children. The primary, especially character educators of their children. That's why we even require them to go through a school of character. That's why in more and more big schools, they have graduation ceremonies also for the parents. Because can you imagine we require them at least, well, I'm more familiar with Southridge. I am also familiar with Northfield, where I also taught. And then, of course, I'm familiar with Westbridge. Usually, we would require parents to come 3 times a year, right? Iba pa yung NPEP in the beginning, and then the other edu-child sessions. But the school for parents itself, we require them to come 3 times to listen to parenting talks because we acknowledge, and that's Saint Josemaria teaching, that the parents are the primary educators of their children. Dapat daw, bago pa pumasok ang estudyante sa loob ng classroom natin, natutunan na ng mga bata sa bahay ang kindness, ang courtesy, ang goodness, ang respect, ang sense of responsibility. Yan. And we do not take that task away from the parents. We make them our partners. And we continue expecting them to be forming the character of their children at home. That's why we have homeschool collaboration. As I said, in many other schools, practically all schools, that's not the culture. That's not PAREF. I mean, as I said, pag pinatawag ng mga magulang, ay ibig sabihin may problema ang bata. Not in our case. And then integral because we are not just interested in making our students geniuses in math, science, and English. As we would say, what do I need a genius for? Kung gagamitin niya naman yung kanyang katalinuhan to step on other people, to abuse other people, to steal from other people, to be dishonest to other people. No, our integral education is we are interested in giving them technical skills, but especially also giving them character. And then we don't end there because we know we are dealing with human beings with a body and soul. We even give special premium to spiritual formation. And that spiritual formation, again, will go back to Saint Josemaria Escriva. If you don't make these kids men and women of prayer, you would have wasted your time. If you don't make them fall in love with Jesus, if we don't make them fall in love with the faith, then we would have wasted our time. So, this is Saint Josemaria's principles. These are the core of Saint Josemaria's principles of education. That education should be integral, forming a human being not just technical, not just technically, but as a human being. And then we get the parents to collaborate with us. That's the reason why our schools, our preschools, should be a kind and caring school, should be characterized by excellence in the work that we do, should be characterized by character formation, strong character formation, and then that Christian identity, the apostolic dimension of our work. In the end, these are like what you are going to see in any PAREF school and PAREF preschool. And if any one of these is missing, we are not being faithful to the founders of PAREF and to the very founder that inspired these people who put up PAREF. Okay? In the end, everything we do is formation. Everything we do is formation. And we teachers are playing a very, very important role in this one. Everything I said, how we start the school year, for example, I shared with the other schools, we have to make our first day of the school year very, very happy day. That the students should like, love, and be very excited to be there on day one. Why? Because it's a kind and caring place. Why? Because the teachers there are not just interested in their subjects, in their learning a skill. The teachers are interested in seeing these people, these kids, become the best human beings they can possibly be. We are interested in their formation. That's PAREF, how we treat our students. I think some of you may have been there last July 3 when I gave that talk on character formation, and I remember mentioning teachers. In a PAREF school, teachers do not shout, scream, and yell at the students. We will learn classroom management and the best ways to manage the students in a way that they will do what we want them to do without without you ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, yelling, hurting, or harming. Why? Because the only effective way to teach character is through the powerful example of our life. You want the kids to learn kindness, we treat them with kindness. You want the kids to learn respect, we show respect to each other, teachers, and to them, the students. How we partner with the parents, that too is part of formation. How we, teachers, work with the utmost human perfection. Opus Dei, very Opus Dei. I mean, that's Saint Josemaria. That's PAREF way of doing things. We strive to work with excellence kasi ito ang aking raw material para maging santo, para maging holy, para maging mabuting anak ng Diyos, which is, again, back to Saint Josemaria's teachings. How we help those in need, especially reaching out to those who need us more. And let me pause a bit here and say, we have more and more students now who come inside our classroom, and they come from very dramatic backgrounds where the parents may not be as involved. Actually, that's one distinctive trait of PAREF schools, right? We expect the parents to be involved. Again, that's not the culture in other schools. Sa maraming eskwelahan, ang kultura ng mga magulang is dinideposito nila ang kanilang anak sa school. Nagbayad ako ng tuition ha, ma'am, sir, kayo nang bahala sa anak ko ha. Wala na akong pakialam dyan. That's the culture in other schools. That when parents pay the tuition, they think it's the school's responsibility now to, ay, hindi tayo ganun. The way of PAREF is Thank you for enrolling your kids. Now let's work together. Come to School for Parents. Come for chats, for mentoring chats. And let's talk about how to make your kid the best human being he or she can possibly be. That's very Opus Dei. That's very Saint Jose Maria. That's PAREF. And then, especially when you have kids who are deprived of that kind of attention that we usually expect of our PAREF parents, the more we try to reach out to people like that, to kids like that, and then how we patiently deal with parents. All these things are formation. Everything we do is formation. I go inside the classroom and start the class every single day punctually. That's formation because that's how I will teach my kids, my students, respect for time, punctuality. That's how I'm going to be able to form them in that. I will be kind, respectful, because that's how I'm going to be able to teach them that I come to class professionally every single day because that is how I will be able to teach professionalism to my students. You see, the kids will not just learn kindness because we give them the talk on kindness, because we give a sermon about kindness. More powerful than a homily, more powerful than a lecture is the good example that we show our students. That's why everything we do is formation. Okay, I've been talking one way. I want you, well, not that you will talk, but I want you to pause and reflect. Think about this question. Sa ating eskwelahan, what comes first? Who comes first? Is it the parents, the children, or the teachers? Some of you may be tempted to think, parents, kasi nga sabi ni Sendo Samariski, di ba? Parents first. Yan. Di ba? Sabi ni Ma'am Irish, all. Yan. Very nice. That's integral. Yan. Because everyone is a human being. Now, here's the answer. The question is, what comes first in school? Ay, hindi pwedeng parents. Ang parents nasa bahay. Wala naman sila dun eh. So, we're left with students and teachers. But students, especially for preschools, these kids, you cannot expect them to know right from wrong already, very clear about their values. Kaya nga nagpupunta pa ng eskwela, they're still learning. They're still learning how to get along with other people, how to treat other kids. The answer, therefore, is, you know who comes first in school? You and I, the teachers. We come first. Sabi ni Dr. Thomas Licona, my mentor in character formation. That's why he gave me the license to run in the Philippines the Center for the Fourth and Fifth R's Asia, which is his institute in the State University of New York. Our principle is every human being, aside from knowing reading, writing, arithmetic, should have respect and responsibility. The fourth and fifth R's. Two virtues which are in crisis these days: respect and responsibility. Sabi niya, Dr. Licona, the most powerful tool we have in order to influence a child's character is our own character, our, referring to us teachers, inside the classroom. That's how important you are. That's why we come first inside the classroom. We have to take care of our character if we are to form the character of our kids. Sabi ni Marvin Berkowitz, we, teachers, must embody the character we wish to see in our students. That's how important you are. So, I know you realize it already. Maybe that's the reason why some of you decided to become teachers. Kasi iniisip nyo, I'm, I can impact the lives of kids. I am able to mold minds, form character, not just teach a subject, but actually raise up young men and women, young kids, to become very good human beings. Only teachers are capable of doing that. Parents too, but they're not there inside the classroom. But we are. If teachers are not okay, cannot manage their workload, lack peace, or are not passionate about their job, they will surely fail at helping children and families achieve these same goals and many others. I know you already realize how important your job is as teachers. I want us to pause and realize fully how important our work is. We are entrusted with human beings to take care of, not just subjects to teach. Okay? That's how important our work is. That's why hindi lang pwedeng tawaging employment. It is a mission, really. We're back to that slide earlier. We're effectively fulfilling a mission by being teachers. And not just any kind of teacher, a teacher in a PAREF preschool. That's how important we are. So, the only effective way to teach character is through our example. I'm sure you've heard of the cliche, values are caught, not taught. Values are caught, not taught, right? That's how we're able to transfer, pass on values to our students, to the young ones. They're looking at us, they're observing us. There is another saying related to values are caught, not taught. I'm not exactly sure who said it, but yung because I think Dewey, sabi niya, I cannot hear what you are saying because your action, your example is too loud. I cannot hear what you're saying because your action, that's what I'm hearing. That's more eating up into my ears. And that's true. Kahit anong lecture mo about kindness, but if you're the kind of teacher, like in other schools, who has to shout, scream, and yell, there goes kindness. They will not learn it. Not only that, their hypocrisy radar is very powerful. Believe me, the hypocrisy radar of kids is very powerful. They can detect if the person if the adult is a hypocrite, saying one thing and doing another. They become even more experts as they grow older and they go to high school. The more they can sense hypocrisy. The only effective way to teach character is through our example. That's how we are able to pass on character, values, virtues. That's why I want you to prepare yourselves for a most successful school year by making sure that we have this very clear in our mindset that we are not just going to teach a subject, handle a class, we are going to mold minds, form character, and effectively shape a good future for these young people. Because good education is good character education. And good character education is good education. Um, Here is a very important marketing mindset that we should have. Mind you, by the way, we have to be all in a marketing mode. If we love our school enough, we want our school to succeed and to survive. And to survive, we need the numbers, right? I was just in Iloilo last February because I saw the announcement of St. Joseph. I know we have some friends from Iloilo in this room right now. The directoress of St. Joseph School in Iloilo was my second mother, quote unquote. When I moved to Iloilo in 1991, my first job was substitute teacher in Washung, Iloilo Chinese Commercial High School. And then 1 month later, I got to meet Mrs. Josefina Garcia, and immediately she got me to be part of St. Joseph School. And on September 15, 1991, when I went to school on a Monday morning, I told Mrs. Garcia, according to the counselor of Opus Dei who blessed the center yesterday, um, we can have a PAREF school here in Iloilo if you people here work hard enough. And she started jumping up and down in excitement, because she has always dreamt of having a PAREF school in Iloilo City. Now, during the time, she was running St. Joseph, which was only up to grade 6. There was no high school. And so, if I was going to start a school, I would not be able to start grade school. I had to start with high school. I could not compete with my own boss. And she was the one who guided me every step of the way. Now, what you do is go to DEX. DEX pa nung time na yun, on Department of Culture and Sports. Now you have to go to DEX and tell them that you intend to start a school. So I went to DEX and sabi nung staff doon, ay, sir, you're just in time. This Friday is the deadline for submission of letter of intent if you want to start a school. I mean, everything fell into place thanks to the guidance of Mrs. Garcia. And that's why 9 months later, we opened Westbridge School with 32 first batch of students, many of them coming from my class in St. Joseph. So, last February, nung in-announce niya, after 52 years, we have to close down. We did not survive the pandemic, low enrollment, difficulties. I felt I mean, it was very painful to read that letter that was passed around in social media. I thought I had to go back. I had to visit her and just to one last time possibly express my sincerest gratitude for all the help she gave for me to be able to start Westbridge. So many did not survive the pandemic. Many suffered low enrollment because of this 3 years of lockdown. In Cebu, I was told there were 36 private schools that shut down. If we love our school enough, our preschool, we have to be in the marketing mode. And you know the best marketing gimmick? You know the best marketing gimmick? This is it. I'll tell you the secret. Teachers, be the best teachers you all can possibly be. And you will have the whole city knocking on our doors, wanting to enroll their kids in our school. If every single one of us will really work to be the best teachers we can possibly be, the most kind teachers, the most caring teachers there are, the most professional teachers there are, the most virtuous teachers there are. You will have the whole city ringing on your doorbells, asking you for the registration forms. That is the best marketing tool that we can possibly use. That you and I will do all our work as teachers of your preschools to the best that we can. We're back to Saint Jose Maria, doing things to the utmost human perfection. And then that we are not just concerned that they pass a quiz, that they pass a test, that they pass a school year, but that we're interested that they grow up to be good boys and girls. And we are in a position to be able to do that because good character education is good education, is a good school. Now more than ever, the students, your kids, need this kind of good education.
I'll ask a question for everyone. No? So this refers to the dress code. So naturally, this dress code is part of the culture and it comes from the whole idea of, I think, excellence. I don't know, but how do you actually rationalize that with what you've been saying on, well, I guess Saint Jose Maria really taught us to dress well, no? But how do you explain that to the parents? Na they come in shorts thinking that they're just in preschool, magsusundo lang naman sila eh, di ba? Naka-shorts and sando and chinelas.
You're talking about the parents.
Yes, 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 parents.
Well, we are a school, and therefore, as a school, we have the academic freedom to maintain standards. And part of our standards is every adult that comes inside our school should have that kind of excellence, professionalism, etc. You kahit na magsusundo lang, but there is something that you're going to hear a lot about after, especially our seminars with Primed Institute, March 2 to 5, 2025, where we are going to be told the importance of modeling. Every adult in our school, in our preschool, should be a model of the kind of persons we want our students to be. So kahit magsusundo lang and they enter the campus or they are there in our campus, they become part of the models that the kids should be able to see. Everyone, the janitors, the security guards, the ladies in the bookstore, cafeteria, they all are adults modeling the kind of persons we want our students to be. That's our principle. And that's what we want to maintain. That's why we have dress code, even for parents, actually, even for yayas who will happen to come to drop the lunchbox or the parents who come just to pick up the children. Because that is our principle. Every adult is and should be a role model, a model for our students, for the kind of persons that we want our kids to be. I understand some parents will find that napaka-stricto naman. Mas stricto pa kayo sa mga madre ng RVM sisters. That they have their own standards. We have our own. That is part of our academic freedom because academic freedom is not just the freedom to teach what you want. It's about the kind of standards you want to maintain for your institution, for your school, for your preschool. Now, as for the kids, some parents will also, but kailangan ng uniform ng kids? Because that is our way of actually being able to teach them equality, inclusivity. You know, when I was in Southridge, grade 7, we were required to only have white rubber shoes for PE. No other rubber shoes allowed, especially the fancy ones. In fact, if I remember right, we were even given a brand. Dapat yung brand na Bantex or Bata, yung rubber shoes. Many parents did not understand that. Why? Because Southridge did not want students to use the PE period as a time to showcase kung gaano kamahal na mga rubber shoes ang kaya nilang bilhin. That is part of the culture that we want to maintain. That is part of the standards that we want to uphold in our schools, in our PAREF schools, in our PAREF preschools. Some may not understand it, but a matter of communicating it to them and going back to the ideas of, you see, we really want to form your children. That's why even your attire as a driver itself matters, because we are after formation. We're not just after your tuition, we're after your your child's formation. I
So
think,
more
yeah,
so
kahit
how
sa,
the teachers look, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I was in a quandary. Nako, should I wear my coat when I give the talk today to the teachers? Pero I could have, but today I did not. One is because I'm moving to another residence and I have nothing here in this room already, actually. But yes, even the way we wear, I mean, the way we are attired, that too is part of formation. Yep. So we're ready. Ma'am Gia, I saw the schedule. We're supposed to go all the way to 3 o'clock,
Yes, sir.
3:30,
Yes,
three
yes.
o'clock. Okay, because I still have more to share. I'll share my screen again. Okay, now more than ever, our students need this kind of good education because I mean, our kids are living in a world that researchers call the post-truth era, where people can now manufacture um, truths. I mean, it's amazing how social media, for example, has distorted um, the definitions of such basic things as woman and man. It's absurd. Life. Um, we're living in this kind of world where there is so much moral confusion, where every kid, chances are, is actually addicted to gadget, technology, internet, social media, unless the parents are really well formed. And I know some parents who are like that. They really know how to discipline their children in the use of technology, in the use of gadgets. And this is of the supposed to be one of the greatest strengths of PAREF schools, PAREF preschools, where we form our parents even in this area of raising their kids not to be addicted to gadgets, to technology, to Wi-Fi, to social media, etc. There is doctrinal crisis. It's a world that is immersed in hedonism. Now more than ever, our students need this kind of good education. Now, I've mentioned character education. Iba-iba ang definition na binibigay ng mga experts, no, about character education. Let me give you one that is more in accord with PAREF spirit of formation. Character education is really nothing else but the nurturing of the flourishing of human goodness. That's what we want our kids to do, to do good, and to be good. That's what we want that the kids will acquire. Being good, doing good. Even when it is difficult, even when no one is looking, and even when others are not. And again, we demonstrate this. I mean, we are able to teach this more effectively when we show it by our example, even when it is difficult, even when no one is looking, and even when others are not. Because character education is a way of being more than just a way of doing. We have to teach our kids as if we are preparing the future powerful and influential people. In fact, they will be. They are destined to be powerful, influential, and even I don't know, maybe occupying high positions in government, in public service, as what I'm already seeing among our graduates, for example, in Southridge. We have one who served as governor of Quezon Province for 3 terms, and then now second term as congressman. We have 5 congressmen graduates already from Southridge. We have a city councilor here in Manila, a city councilor in Canlubang, a provincial board member there in Laguna. I mean, um, believe it or not, the kids that we have inside our classroom this coming school year, many of them will go on to be very powerful, very influential. What will you do if you know, if you learn that that kid inside your classroom is someday going to be very powerful, very influential person? How will you teach if you realize, if you know now that someday this guy is going to be a senator, someday that girl is going to be a mayor, this other kid is someday going to be the president of the Philippines. You know what you're going to do? You're going to teach for character. Every single day, you will find ways and means to be able to talk about character, to be able to talk about virtues. Therefore, you want to be the best preschool teachers you can possibly be? Let's commit to this. Commit ourselves to nurturing the flourishing of human goodness. That every single student coming inside our classroom, every kid, we will help to be good and to do good. To effectively do character, you have to be character. That's why experts will tell us now. Dr. Marvin Berkowitz, the author of Primed, character education is a way of being, sabi niya, more than just a way of doing. I invite you, therefore, dear teachers, to have this kind of mindset. I have to form myself. If I were to be the best teacher I can possibly be for these kids, living in a world that is like this, where there is digital addiction, where there is hedonism, there is materialism, it's a post-truth era, I have to form myself. I have to learn how to be an effective agent of character formation for my students. After all, you and I are the face of PAREF. I mean, parents will learn about PAREF in what they see in us. Kids will learn what PAREF is all about from what they see in the teachers. And I tell you, as soon as the kids get home, they tell their parents what they saw, what they felt, what they remember of the day. That's why when we have alumni homecoming, I always attend the one, I try to attend as often as I can, the one of Southridge, the one of Westbridge, and then UST, alumni homecoming every now and then. You remember this? Um, I remember saying this story many times. In alumni homecoming, you would have students who would excitedly come back after many years of being away from the school. They will come back and they will ask around, andito pa ba si Mrs. So-and-so? Andito pa ba si Mr. So-and-so? Because they want to shake your hand, look you straight in the eyes, and be able to tell you, ma'am, sir, thank you very much. I am who I am because of you. Yan. And then ikaw sasabihin mo naman sa kanya, ito naman, sino ka nga ba, iho? Ano nga bang pangalan mo? We don't remember their names, their faces. We don't remember anymore. We cannot even associate with because it's been years. But they have never forgotten us. They have never forgotten us, not because of the subject that we taught, but especially because of how we made them feel inside the classroom. That's why I experienced this so many times. I go to Southridge Alumni Homecoming. Here come some alumni excitedly. They may not say it that way. In fact, they will not say it. Sir, thank you very much. I am who I am because of you. No, that's not how they're going to say it. They will show it by jumping up and down in excitement to see you after so many years. They cannot just shake your hand. They want to hug you. They want to embrace you. That's how they say, thank you so much. I am who I am because of you. And I can assure you, dear teachers, never has there been an alumnus coming home to tell the teacher, sir, thank you so much for teaching us subject verb agreement. Thank you so much for teaching us factoring. No, they will not even remember the subject matter we taught them. But what they will never forget is how you made them feel inside the classroom, how you pushed them, encouraged them, motivated them, inspired them. That's PAREF way of doing things. We are here to inspire our students, not just to inspire to pass a test or a quiz, but to inspire to become the best human being they can possibly be. Parang ang taas naman yan, Mr. Antoy. Parang hindi na ako makapaniwala. Exaggerated na masyado. Well, we go back to Saint Josemaria. He did not want us to put up a school just to be able to have employment. He wanted us to put up schools so that we can spread the message of you have to be a saint through your work. You have to make your work a means of sanctity, and you have to help others become saints through that work that you do. We have to go back again and again to that idea. I am the sound of PAREF. I am the face of PAREF. I effectively am PAREF. Character is all about becoming. It's not just about teaching. It's about becoming the character that we want our students to become, the person that we want our students to become. And in that way, these students will go on, grow old and go on to be out there in the world carrying uh, the trademark of PAREF. You know, yesterday I had lunch with the president and vice president of student councils of Southridge, Woodrose, Northfield, and Rose Hill. And we were there together in one table with the president of PAREF, Mr. Moran. And I was among the so many things. We were there for 3 hours discussing the plans for the Student Leaders Summit in March 2025. And then when Mr. Moran left, so we were just on our own and free flowing discussion. And you know what the students said? It came from them. Sabi nila, you can always tell a PAREF graduate when they go to college, you can distinguish, you can almost tell this guy must be a PAREF graduate. This girl, this lady must be a PAREF. I don't know how to determine it, but they said they somehow have that like intuition. And they were saying it because the president of Woodrose said she was with her family in Vietnam for a vacation recently, and they saw a family, another Filipino family there. And somehow she had the intuition, this guy of her age also must be also a PAREF student. And he was. He's from Westbridge. They said such a small world. But what she was saying was, it's just amazing that almost like by intuition, she could say, she could tell, this guy is parang may PAREF trademark. And that's what will happen if you and I, preschool teachers, commit ourselves to be the best teachers we can possibly be and form our students according to the PAREF idea of what it means to be a good human being. Let's commit ourselves to it. The nurturing of the flourishing of human goodness. Let's commit ourselves to be the best teachers we can all possibly be. Let's commit ourselves to being the best teacher we can possibly be, regardless of how we may have been last year. Some of you may have been teaching for decades even. I'm on my 34th year as a teacher. Now, this is the beautiful thing about teaching. Every year, may rebooting. I mean, there's a chance to start all over again. New set of students, new school year, fresh day one again. Not all, I mean, you cannot find that in other employments unless if you move to another job. But in the case of our situation, our teaching, ay ang galing. Ang galing. Every year is like an opportunity to begin again. And some of you, those of you who know a lot about Saint Jose Maria, I'm sure you already heard the echo of begin again. It's from him. It's from his book, The Way. Sanctity consists in beginning and beginning again. And this is the beautiful thing about the new school year that we are about to start. We are given a chance to begin again. Regardless of how we may have been last year. Mr. Rendoy, it was my first year last year. I made a mess. I shouted, I screamed, I yelled. I even got upset with one student. I hurt the student. Regardless of how things were last year or 2 years ago, this year is a new year and we can begin again and we can commit ourselves. I have to be the best teacher I can possibly be. And then we will contribute to what Saint Jose Maria would always remind members of Opus Dei. Go out there, drown evil in an abundance of good. It's beautiful. We are in a profession that allows us to enhance the lives of people. I mean, think of ano pang kayang makagawa niyan? What other professions can do what we are doing? Enhancing the lives of people, drowning evil in an abundance of good. Not too many professions are able to do that, but we teachers effectively are at the forefront of this battle against evil, of drowning evil in an abundance of good. Make a commitment that every single student, every single kid that you have in your class will grow up to be a good human being, a good person, a fantastic person. I'm going to end with this video. Let me see. I should share my sound because I want you to hear directly from the mouth of Saint Jose Maria. And again, as I mentioned earlier, for those of you who may be exposed to Opus Dei for the first time because you're a new teacher in our PAREF preschool, I encourage you. There are hundreds of videos, recordings of Saint Jose Maria speaking. Because in his last 5 years, in the last 5 years of his life, 1970 to 1975, he insisted on going around the world to talk about God, to talk about the rosary, to talk about Our Lady, to talk about loving the Mass, loving confession. He went around the world. Unfortunately, he never got to make it to Asia. He never got to travel to the Philippines. But so he spent his last 5 years going to many countries, sometimes to speak to 100 persons in one room, sometimes to 5,000 in an auditorium. At one point, 20,000 people in the football field of Navarre, but always just talking about God because nakita niya yung crisis in the church that was happening, especially after the Second Vatican Council, where there were so many abuses against the sacraments, against the mass. Many religious, for example, left the convents. So he felt the need to go out as his contribution to drowning evil in an abundance of good, to talking to people. And the reason why namatay siya ng 1975, 1992 na beatify na kagad. And some people were wondering, parang ang bilis, ang bilis. No, it's not that mabilis, but it's just that he must have been one of the very first modern saints who left behind hundreds and hours of recordings of himself speaking. Previous to him, the most of the saints we had during that time in the Catholic Church, wala pang camera, wala pang audio recording, wala pang video recording. So it was very difficult to study those cases for beatification and canonization. In the case of Saint Josemaria, he wrote he left behind a lot of writings and all these hours of recordings leading up, of course, to all the way to his canonization. And so I'd like to end this presentation by making you listen to him talking about, well, what the message of Opus Dei is all about, sanctification of work, sanctifying our work, which will show you, okay, this is it. This is how I can be the best teacher I can possibly be in a PAREF preschool.
Padre, ¿qué industrias humanas nos aconsejaría para vivir la presencia de Dios durante el día?
Yo no sé qué profesión es la tuya, ni te la pregunto aquí delante de todos. Pero tú trabajas, porque si no, no te puedes santificar.
Sí, Padre.
En el Opus Dei buscamos la santidad a través del trabajo. Santificando el trabajo, santificándonos con el trabajo, santificando a los demás a través de nuestro trabajo profesional. Os advierto que el trabajo de una madre de familia en su casa es un trabajo profesional ideal, el más precioso. Y tú, antes de comenzar tu tarea, levanta el corazón a Dios, rectifica las intenciones, puedes pensar si eres casado en tu mujer, en tus hijos, en tu hogar, pero además Dios, solo por Él, por darle gusto, porque nos creó para trabajar. Antes de la caída de los primeros padres, el Señor, dice la Escritura, que creó al hombre ut operaretur, para que trabajara. A trabajar, pues. Y comienza la tarea así, interrúmpela de cuando en cuando, ponte un pequeño despertador allí, ¿eh? Si no es una cosa chocante, ponte una imagencita de la Virgen en algún lado. Quiere mucho a Nuestra Señora en esta tierra de María Santísima. Yo sé que la amáis todos mucho. Y ella quiere ser muy amada. Tú no puedes ser una excepción y no lo eres. La quieres mucho. La Virgen te llevará a Jesús y entonces santificarás el trabajo y tendrás presencia de Dios.
Very nice. So that's Saint Josemaria for you. And as I said, in all those gatherings that he had in those last 5 years of his life, going around the world, all of those were caught in videos, and many of them available with English subtitles, some of them with dubbed in English. And it would be great for you to hear him speak about sanctification, about our work, about what we do. Because the only way to appreciate, understand, and fully appreciate what we do in PAREF is to go back to the very founders of PAREF who were inspired by the teachings of Saint Josemaria. Okay, well, it's 3 o'clock, and I was told we go up to 3, and then maybe open the floor for questions, or some of you might want to share some ideas, but I end there. Thank you very much, and I wish you luck in this new school year that we are about to begin. Be the best teachers you can possibly be. And I look forward to seeing these young kids that you will have in your schools eventually go out there to change the world drowning evil in an abundance of good, because you raised them up to be fantastic men and women. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Rentoy, and thank you to all the teachers who were present here. If you have questions right after this, siguro magtutulog muna kayo when you wake up, you'll realize you have questions pala. Feel free to just ask Mr. Rentoy in the PAREF office. Okay? So good luck in all your school openings, and we hope that this helped you be more encouraged to start the school. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you, Mr. Toy.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
You're welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.